Yes, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Football Tribe UG channel. Robert Kesakos is your usual suspect. Welcome back to yet another live broadcast on your favorite football update channel. Apologies, about 24 minutes late because I was getting my device charged. Got back home to find that it had low battery percentage, so I needed some minutes to play catch up before I came on here. So you'll indulge me or excuse me on that one. So, anyways, good evening and welcome back to yet another live episode on your favorite football updates channel. It's the Football Tribe UG channel. I do come to you live from Kampala, Uganda, where it's 25 minutes past the hour of 11 p.m. In the night. That means 35 minutes to Monday, which will be the 2nd of March. I said to you, Happy New Month to you all. For all our new subscribers, I say thank you so much and welcome to the Football Tribe UG community. I hope you get to enjoy your stay with us. I hope you get to love what we do here every single day. Monday to Friday, we do come to you, actually Monday to Saturday, we do come to you live every single morning and evening. In the nights, we come at 11 p.m. or at least after 11. Apart from Fridays, we come a bit early at about 9 p.m. Then on Saturday morning, usually we do around 10:30. Even though this Saturday we had to pull it a bit up front to about 9 a.m. because I had other engagements running. But I hope you guys get to enjoy your stay with us. For those of you that have recently subscribed to the channel, there. It's been an awesome Sunday, I must say. It's been an awesome Sunday. Depending on for us in Uganda, it's been quite chilly, a bit cloudy throughout the entire day, and not too much of sunshine. Some slight drizzles throughout the course of the day. There. Meanwhile, as we speak, AC Roma have scored against Juventus, so AC Roma are leading that game by a goal to nil. While Olympic Marseille are also in action against, I think against Lille. Sorry, against Olympic Lyon, yes. And Olympic Lyon are leading that game by a goal to nil. So that's also happening on that front. In case any of you may be interested in following up on the updates from that side. I do not know why, but I'm experiencing a bit of sluggishness in my internet feed. I hope the experience is a bit different for you, but you'll indulge me, have something tested out before we continue. But yeah, my internet feed is sort of disappointing me in a bit. I hope, let's hope my ISP doesn't disappoint me tonight, because there's plenty for us to discuss following that Super Sunday action from the Premier League and what's going on elsewhere. Like I said, AC Roma have just scored to get the lead against Juventus, and they're leading by a goal to nil. Luciano Spalletti must be a very disappointed man there. Really, Gianpiero Gasperini is a very smiley man on the other side of the touchline. For those of you that are just joining us, kindly like the broadcast, but also consider subscribing to the channel and help support what we do here. Do let me know where you're joining us from, and I'll be reading your comments in each and every respect that they may come through. Let me know where you're joining us from, what time is it for you, and things like that, So not bigger than the Stampede Arteta boys cause in corner kicks. Sorry, I was reading just a comment from somebody. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the London derby between Chelsea and Arsenal. Chelsea there on the receiving end of a defeat by 2-1 against a very unconvincing Arsenal side, in my opinion. I hope you guys share similar opinions, but in case you have divergent views on the same match that we're speaking about, do not hesitate to share them down in the comment section. I thought it was another evening of one horrendous performance from the referees, not Darren England alone, because earlier on I had seen something a bit odd as Manchester United beat up against Crystal Palace by 2-1. I did not think that Crystal Palace deserved to concede a penalty, despite them being deserved to receive that red card for Maxence Lecroix there. So was the goal scorer in that game as well. So we're going to be digesting all that action from the Premier League and the implications of it on the table, because Manchester United have now moved third on the Premier League table. And if you're a Manchester United fan, You'd love to see it. You'd love to see it. Then we will talk about the stellar performance of okay, I think I'll read for you that comment a bit later. But if you're a Man United fan, you must be really, really pleased with how Michael Carrick is handling things, because I think in 9 games, he's still unbeaten, only 1 draw. That was against West Ham. That means he's, won 8 games. We will be looking at, a list of those and see if it sort of fits the narrative and that it is worthy of our time. So, okay. Manchester United, yes. Okay, so where do we start it all from? Of course, the Super Sunday started off with 3 games that kicked off at 5 p.m. East African time, as Brighton beat up against Nottingham Forest by 2-1. We'll get to that. Tottenham Hotspurs, as predicted, on the receiving end of another defeat against Fulham by 2-1. And then Manchester United also beating Crystal Palace by 2-1, as well as did Arsenal. So that means all 4 games played today ended in 2-1 victories for the home sides. I was seeing a tweet earlier on from somebody who had predicted the 3 perfect scores out of today's games, including, I think, was it the Man United game? I will find out that in just a bit. But I thought it was very, very interesting for that perfect score prediction from whoever that was. I'm hoping I can fetch that, but I can't find it quickly on my screen. Anyways, let's start with the Arsenal game, because it was the biggest game of the weekend, and perhaps it deserves, the note to be started upon. Arsenal, very unconvincing in their performance, in my opinion, and like I said, I'm not the only one who shares that sentiment, because one counsel, Gary Songa, he's a lawyer, he's a Ugandan lawyer. I do not know what team he supports. He says Arsenal may have won the game, but still Chelsea won our hearts. If a championship pretender needed a red card to beat Chelsea at home, then I can say they are not good enough. Well, I may disagree with perhaps the view of a championship pretender or the need for a red card to win a game, because by the time Pedro Neto gets sent off, Chelsea had still a full squad. There were still 11 players on the pitch, because that red card comes about 4 minutes after Arsenal had scored to get their lead through Jurriën Timber, So he may not be so right about that. But like I said, it was a game of 2 halves, in my opinion. Arsenal very dominant in the opening half, while the second half, they were literally inertial besides the goal that they scored. And I must say, I was disappointed in the Arsenal performance. They had a very good first half, created goal-scoring chances, could not capitalize on them. You felt so much lapse and laxity in either concentration or sharpness. I do not know what I can blame it on. And yet we thought they were going to look fresher, much better after a week's, long length of training without any midweek game to worry about for the first time since mid-December. That's what, 2 months and a half, really. So you thought they're going to look fresher, they're going to be much sharper, that they would have higher energy levels. But whereas they showed that in the first half, it was not the same story in the second half. I saw a very brilliant performance. Inside Music says hi to you, Inside Music. Hello to you, to where you're joining us from this beautiful evening. So I saw an Arsenal side that one wanted to win the game, and this is as far as the first half was concerned. They were intentional. They pressed Chelsea really, really high. They were winning balls back. We could see they were forcing the goalkeeper in Robert Sanchez into making errors. In fact, at one point, he nearly very early into the game conceded possession to Victor Gyökeres. He was able to recover from that. Then there was another time he played a blind pass, and so they're causing Chelsea a lot of panic within their backline with that high press. And they looked sharp, like I said. But in the chances or opportunities they were creating, you felt that they were not being proactive. They were not getting the ball over the line. They were not testing Robert Sanchez well enough, because it's it felt, you know how a chance is created, and then instead of somebody taking off a shot, then decide maybe to take an extra touch before you know it, they've lost possession or they misfire. I think it's like that. So you had a lot of that. And for the first time in as long as I can remember, Arsenal needed two set-piece scores to go ahead and win this fixture. And in the first half itself, we're talking about a side that also got their lead through a set piece. And this was William Saliba's goal in the 21st minute of the game. Again, Bukayo Saka floating in the area to the, floating in the ball to the back post. And then that ball is headed back sort of across a goal in a way, or through Gabriel Magalhaes, and then William Saliba gets the flick on it. It takes, I think, a deflection of a Chelsea defender before hitting the back of the net, and it's 1-0. And then you thought to yourself, oh, maybe Arsenal, given that they have been dominant in the first 20 minutes of the game, they're going to continue and sustain that sort of pressure and keep it on Chelsea, and then get the second goal, maybe even the third, and put this game to bed as soon as possible. Well, it couldn't have been any further from the truth, because as we have come to see of this Arsenal side multiple times this season, is that once they score a goal, they tend to drop off. But to be fair to them, once they scored that goal through William Saliba, it did not feel like they dropped off, but as the first half wore on, you felt that they were still starting to give away a bit of chances and conceding corner kicks on the other side. It was a game that I felt that, at least for my part, felt had so many corner kicks, and yet Arsenal felt being troubled dealing with those corner kicks. In fact, they were the architects of their own downfall. So it was that kind of performance, really. Then you also had in the first half. Was it in the first half? Yes, I think it was in the first half. You had a snafu of a bad moment for Martin Zubimendi. David Raya passes him the ball down the center. He was close to the D, that's the 18 yards box. And then instead of Martin Zubimendi going at the 45-degree angle to try and find, I think, Gabriel Magalhaes on the lower side, or whoever it was, he decided to pass the ball back to David Raya, and David Raya had to scramble himself into clearing that ball. It looked like a poor moment, and yet it was quite characteristic of Martin Zubimendi. Why? Because it's not the first time we're seeing that. It's that kind of pass that he gifted to Manchester United before they found the equalizer in Arsenal's defeat 3-2 at the Emirates Stadium. We've seen that awkward pass on another different occasion. So, in other words, it's not the first time this is happening. It's not the first time. And you remember after that sort of scenario playing out against Man United, Mikel Arteta decided to switch him to play him predominantly as a number 8 as opposed to a 6, to try and cut out those kinds of mistakes, because he realized it was a recurring thing. Now he was back at it. He got away with that one, and he was really, really lucky to get away with that one, because anyway, it's a game in which Arsenal got away with a lot, you would argue. Just for the laugh says, what did you think of Manchester United versus Crystal Palace game? We'll get to that in a bit, but thank you so much, just for the laugh, to joining us once again. So when Arsenal get away with that one, of course, they have the lead through William Saliba. And then, like I said, it was a game of missed opportunities. Victor Gyökeres, I thought, was doing well in doing the hold-up play, receiving the ball in the right areas. But the support towards him, in terms of helping him, find the next Arsenal player, was always delayed, was always not just seconds delayed, but moments delayed, because he was doing well enough to hold on to the ball, trying to take on defenders. Sometimes, he wasn't very successful in many occasions, but at least you felt that if he had somebody to knock that ball to, for him to dart into space to make his move, then clearly maybe they would have created more better chances or scoring opportunities. But for me, it was really, really, again, there's a lot to fault about this Arsenal side. Just for the laugh says, the red card was a joke and changed the game completely. Corruption of the highest order. I'll give you my view on that one, just for the laugh. But thank you so much for your comment or submission. So then, because Arsenal had started conceding corners on the other side, Chelsea, they had the first corner, not the very first of the game, but Richard James brings in a corner. Declan Rice flicks the ball with his upper arm. More or less, it looked like an upper arm or the lower part of the shoulder. So it's a bit subjective in a way. I'm on about the Manchester United game, not the Chelsea game. I completely understand, just for the laugh. But like I said, just give me a moment to get through the Arsenal game, and then we'll get to the Man United game. But I understand where your comments are directed to. Thank you. So the corner is floated in by Richie James. First of all, Declan Rice has his arms wrapped around, I think, was it Trevor Chalobah? No, not Trevor Chalobah. It was the Chelsea defender, Sarr. Mamadou Sarr, yes. It was, he had his hands wrapped around Mamadou Sarr. Then as the ball approaches him, he flicks his sort of elbow pad and deflects that ball into the direction of his own goal. And it took the immaculate flexibility of David Raya to put that one out. Otherwise, it was destined for the back of the net. So that was going to be an own goal. Now, the moment, I do not know if it was reviewed by VAR and granted the pass that it was not a clear and obvious error by the referee, or that the referee had not missed something critical in that moment. I do not know for a fact, but I thought maybe it needed a second look. First of all, I do not know whether it would have resulted into a penalty because, like I said, I'm not 100% sure it hits the arm or the lower part of his shoulder, because I think the shoulder starts from somewhere here, and that's, so this is the arm, so this is the lower part of the shoulder, and all this way is the shoulder. So it's a bit subjective, and therefore I can understand why it may have not been given, but I thought it needed review. But if you're not giving that, the other question was, how about the appearance of Declan Rice to be impeding Mamadou Sarr when he has his hands wrapped around him? How about that? Can't that be reviewed for a penalty? For me, there was a decision perhaps to be made. And I think Declan Rice was really, really lucky to get away with that one. Now, he gets away with that one, then Chelsea have a redo or a retake of the corner kick. And once again, Richie James floats it back in. Then, because it was such a perfectly well-laid ball that Pierre Hincapié rises the highest, but not high enough to head that ball outwards or away, and then he takes a flick on it, or it's more like he doesn't head it by his forehead. It sort of brushes at the hind head kind of, and it ends up in the back of the net. First of all, it's very unfortunate for Pierre Hincapié that he scored an own goal on a day where he had a very decent first half. I must commend him for that. But what on God's green earth are Arsenal doing? Because they focused themselves on crowding that area at the forefront of the box with the mix of Chelsea players, and nobody is marking the post. Ordinarily, when a corner kick is being taken, usually you have at least two players on either post. In other words, if that ball is flicked into the goal, beyond the reach of the goalkeeper, you have an opportunity for a goal line clearance. And had Arsenal placed somebody at that post, maybe that flick by Pierre Hincapié would have been cleared by their player. Maybe it eventually goes in, but somebody should have been in that place. But there wasn't anybody. There seemed to be somebody in that frame, an Arsenal player. Either it was Leandro Trossard or Martin Zubimendi, but more likely Leandro Trossard, who was marking a Chelsea player who was way out of frame, that they were nowhere near the ball. Even they were not even attacking the ball. Maybe they are not attacking the ball because they are marked out. But my point is, somebody should have been on that back post, at least to mark that space. So that's another fault. So that goal came in the 42nd minute of, in the second minute of stoppage time in the first stanza, and the game ended 1-1 in the first half. So Arsenal had a better performance in the first half, but the game ended in level by halftime, and Chelsea were the happier side going into halftime with that kind of result. Two, you must give credit to Chelsea that they had done enough to stay in the game before they get even the equalizer, because one of the key things for you to at least have a chance to win a game or a point in a game is that you must stay in the game. In other words, if you've conceded, do not let the margins get so big that then you cannot play catch up. So I thought they had done well to stay in the game. Then we returned for the second half, and Arsenal were literally a no-show in my opinion. Chelsea took that halftime death, goal or equalizer to give themselves the momentum they needed in that game. They came in the second half as the better side. They dominated the ball. They were winning their duels. They were winning their 50-50s. Hi, Daniel Tuton. I'm fully fit. Good luck and congratulations to you, Daniel Tuton. So they looked the better side. They looked the sharpest. If you were betting on a team that were bound to score in that second half, it looked like Chelsea. And it did feel like it was against the run of play that Arsenal then scored to make it 2-1. Julian Timber's goal, Declan Rice floating in the ball. I think, what's his name? Robert Sanchez tried to claim a foul, which I did not see. He tried to claim a push, which I did not see. But Timber heads the ball into the back of the net, and it's 2-1. What a sigh of relief. And you think to yourself, okay, against the run of play, you've managed to score, then now get a grip on this game, go ahead and find that third goal and have a bit of a breathing space. Not that a 2-goal cushion is enough when you've just scored in the 66th minute, but it's something. 2-0 or a 2-goal difference is better than a 1-goal difference, as we saw against Wolverhampton Wanderers. For those of you that want to remember those nightmares, even though it's something that Arsenal fans want to forget even ever happened this season. So that was the kind of performance. But from there on, again, you felt that Chelsea still had a grip on the game. Unfortunately for Chelsea, Pedro Neto fouls Gabriel Martinelli, who picks himself up to try and go on to the advantage. But I do not know. The referee appeared or to claim that he had already blown his whistle before Martinelli gets on his bike to run for it, to break for it, which I thought was another goal scoring opportunity that the referee then pulled back in, because it was an advantage. But then it was he gave a second booking for Pedro Neto and then a red card. Now, Pedro Neto appeared not to be aware that he had been booked in the first place, because minutes earlier on, he had been booked with a yellow card, I think for his dissent in protesting Arsenal's second goal. Around that time, that's when he had protested and he got himself, booked. So it was the second booking in the 70th minute. And this is just 3 minutes after the first booking. So he gets sent off and Chelsea are reduced to 10 men. Now, even when though Chelsea were reduced to 10 men, okay, in my head, I thought, okay, Arsenal have an advantage for themselves here. Let's see what they can go ahead and do. But also, I remember telling the gentleman, I don't know his name, who was watching the game with, that now watch Arsenal drop off in a defensive form or shape, not pressing Chelsea, and then they could easily concede the second. And indeed, they nearly conceded the equalizer, because you had about 2 opportunities. One, Alejandro Garnacho with the attempt. It appeared like a cross. The ball bounces in the area and then was destined for the back of the net. Another immaculate save from David Raya, who I thought was really, really brilliant on the day. I don't know how many times he bailed out Arsenal. Of course, that's his job, but he looked good. For me, my man of the match, the man of the match kind of performance from him, even though the man of the match accolade on the day was given to somebody else. I think it was given to Gabriel Magalhaes, yes, but according to the Premier League website. But for me, it was David Raya who was my man of the match. Then you had another opportunity where I think Enzo Fernandez forced David Raya into a brilliant save. Then you had another moment, Chelsea scored, but through Liam Delap, but Joao Pedro had been in an offside position. So Chelsea are reduced to 10 men, and then Liam Rafinha decides, okay, what do I have to lose? I'm already 2-1 behind. Let me get it going. He brings on Liam Delap and Garnacho, and both those two nearly scored. Arsenal 1 felt panicky. 2, you could sense it, that they were under the pressure, that they were feeling the weight of the pressure, because 1, they are desperate to win this game because they know the implications of not winning. That pretty much they know. But again, for as long as Arsenal put themselves in these kinds of moments, in these kinds of positions, it's going to be really, really difficult for them. It's going to be a lengthy 9 remaining games for them on their part, because For them, it's 9 games left to play, whereas for the rest of the league, other than Wolverhampton Wanderers, it's 10 games left to play. So for as long as they keep behaving in the manner in which they behaved against Chelsea, it's always going to be a nervous ending. And I was reading a comment from an Arsenal fan online who said, Arsenal, I beg, never put me through this again, you know. So it was really that's the kind of pressure that Arsenal fans had to live through, because after getting Chelsea the red card, it almost felt like it was Arsenal that were the ones down to 10 men. When they pressed high, they pressed nervously, then Chelsea were easily playing through them. They failed to clear balls. They felt like they were stepping on their toes instead of getting a ball away, or even, you know. And then some of the substitutions that Mikel Arteta did not do, I was flabbergasted. I was thinking to myself, first of all, he made the right call in bringing on Christian Nogard, even though he took off Declan Rice to do that. Yet I thought Martin Zubimendi had been the poor performer on the day in that midfield. 2, then he brings on Kai Havertz, which is a good thing, although he brought him on for Victor Gyökeres. Now, for me, that felt like a wrong move. Why? Because I've seen this script so many times this season. Every time Arsenal take off Victor Gyökeres, they lose that forward threat. They lose that that ability to keep defenders up front, that they then commit forward, because I do not know whether they're just not afraid of other Arsenal strikers. So instead of taking off Eberechi Eze, he took off Victor Gyökeres now and brought on Kai Havertz. Whereas I was okay welcoming Kai Havertz, I thought Eberechi Eze equally should have been taken off already, or at least at some point in the game. He did not do that. I had hoped he would, take him off and bring a Martin Odegaard for a little bit of more ball control, or whoever else he would have chosen to bring on. But Eberechi Eze looked far from sharp today. I think in the first half alone, he conceded possession about 6 or 7 times. In the first half alone, he only had one flash moment of brilliancy where I think he tested the goalkeeper. So, anyways, it was the kind of performance he would be looking to forget, Eberechi Eze, in comparison to his own performance the previous weekend, and that has always been the question. Can he replicate that kind of performance that he gave Arsenal against Tottenham Hotspur? Well, today he did not replicate that performance, and he will be hoping for better days to come forth. Daniel Tuton says, I do not know, but Chelsea Academy wants to sign me. What do you think? Oh, good luck if they want to sign you. That's all I can say. I mean, I do not know the modalities of how Chelsea sign their youngsters or players to the academy, but if that is the case, I wish you all the best. And if the opportunity comes your way, grab it with both arms and see where, fate takes you. So, anyways, it was that kind of performance. So in the end, I felt Arsenal were lucky to get away with it. Now, so you have those contentious decisions, really, but particularly the one of Declan Rice is one of those. Then, in the first half also, I think, was it in the first half or the second half? I think in the second half. So you had David Raya appearing to have fouled Joao Pedro in clearing a corner kick. That was another moment that perhaps deserved a second look, because we have seen before a goalkeeper gets sent off or concede a penalty for a foul on a player attempting to head the ball, reads the goalkeeper, misses the ball, and punches the other player. Now, I did not get enough clarity on the moment itself, but it did appear that David Raya had fouled Joao Pedro. And there was an appeal from Chelsea players, including Joao Pedro. But that decision, I don't know whether it was reviewed and cleared or it wasn't even reviewed at all. But it was a bit questionable, in my opinion. So those are some of the moments that you felt were questionable on the day. And Arsenal were were quite fortunate, in my opinion, very lucky to get away with that one. Meanwhile, Juventus in the second half have already scored to restore parity against AC Roma. That game is in the second half. So Like we had predicted, Arsenal's starting 11 from the Tottenham Hotspur game did not change at all. Mikel Arteta only used 3 substitutions. I do not know. And yet I felt Juan Timber looked quite tired. Martin Zubimendi, again, who almost made another mistake, apart from the one in the first half. Why? Not because he was trying to act too smart, but instead of clearing the ball, he was lucky that he got a foul on that one. But again, some of the mistakes that Arsenal commit are due to players looking tired or being tired. Like just generally, you're tired. You've been running the entire game. You're just tired. And yet Mikel Arteta doesn't seem to recognize that, or his entire coaching staff can't seem to recognize that to say, I think we need a change there. I do not know. We want to believe that. We want to both believe that they are the experts. They know better than we do. And that's a foregone conclusion. But they're not perfect. So therefore, that is when we call them out and say, there, you should have done better. So I did not understand particularly why players like Eberechi Eze, Juan Timber, Martin Zubimendi were playing the entirety of 90 minutes when they looked off of it. When they really looked off of it. That's for me the submission, really. So Chelsea will feel that they had a good fight, but it just did not. Just wasn't their day. I thought Joel Hato did well, enough to deal with Bukayo Saka. Yes, sometimes he got the better of him, but overall I thought he did well. Richie James looked sharp. Trevor Chalobah and Mamadou Sarr, I thought they did well. Andre Santos and Moises Caicedo, they did good. Enzo Fernandez was okay-ish. Cole Palmer, not really much. He just never found the perfect grip on the game. Joao Pedro oftentimes got physically off of it or bullied off the ball. Yes, he got a foul or two here and there, but he never found his footing in the game. Then Pedro Neto, yes, he looked to trouble Arsenal with his pace, but eventually he got himself sent off, and it was what it was in that regard. Anyways, AC Roma have the second, and it's 2-1. They are back in the lead against Juventus by 2-1. AC Roma. That's football for you. That's football for you. Anyways, come on. Is that Lloyd Kelly? Remember, AC Roma have an Aston Villa striker called Daniel Malin. Bajenda. I'm trying to. Is that Bajenda? Yes. Hi, Bajenda. Is that your full name? So unfortunately, I cannot pronounce it all unless it's Bajenda Ignatius. Oh, Bajenda Ignatius. Okay. So, anyways, Chelsea will feel hard done by that for their performance. They could not get something out of that game, and that means Arsenal restore their 5-point cushion at the top or at the summit of the Premier League table, and it's just beautiful to see. Really, just give me a moment. I need to implement something. So at least in the first leg, they got a point for it, even though they were down to 10 men. But this time around, it was never the case. Oh, come on. Juventus just could not deal with that cross. Really. Anyways, so moving on, let's move on to the Manchester United game, because Man United equally were 2-1 winners against Crystal Palace. Like Daniel Tuto, just for the laugh, was submitting earlier on about that particular game. For him, he thinks the red card should not have stood. I have views contrary to that. Yep, I have some views contrary to that. Why? Because I felt that Maxence Lacroix did not give himself a chance when he commits on that foul on Matheus Cunha. Now, where I want to have a departing opinion from perhaps yours or others is to do with the penalty. You know, the reason for that is one, I felt that the actual foul is committed from outside the area, even though Cunha tries to drag himself into the box. But by the time he's approaching that 18 yards box line, Maxence Lacroix is letting go. So in other words, there is a foul before the area. The foul is worthy of a red card because he is deemed to be the last man. In other words, he's the last line of defense, so he denies a goal scoring opportunity. That's the interpretation of it. So I'm like, okay, it's a red card. Let's go on. But a red card and a penalty, I did not agree on that one. So here's what, just for the laugh sake, what did you think of the Manchester United versus Crystal Palace game? And he says the red card was a joke and changed the game completely. Corruption of the highest order. Indeed, the red card changed the game. That's true. That's without debate. But, like I said, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, the referee is right to, because this is based on review or upon review, he's right to issue the red card, but he's not right to issue the penalty. So, the two things we are concurring on is that there is a foul that has happened. That foul that is worthy of a red card, the question is, where does it actually happen? In my opinion, it's outside the area. And that's the difference for me. So, I thought if you're giving a red card, well and good, but the penalty, not in my opinion. So, but in the end, that was the decision. A penalty is given and a red card to Maxence Lacroix, who had scored to give Crystal Palace the lead in the game, similar to what happened in the first leg. At that time around, it was Gianfilippo Mateta who scored from the penalty spot to give Crystal Palace the lead, and then they squandered it and succumbed to goals from Joshua Zirkzee and Mason Mount. This time around, they succumbed to a penalty from Bruno Fernandes, who converted from 12 yards out, sending Dean Henderson the opposite direction. He's a former Manchester United goalkeeper, by the way. And then, of course, later on, he also turned provider when he brought in a brilliant cross in the 65th minute for Benjamin Sesko to head home to make it 2-1. I thought Tyrick Mitchell, I think was the defender suspect in that area, did not give himself a chance in misanticipating that ball. I do not know what he thought, because he's standing literally on level with Benjamin Sesko, and as the ball comes in, Benjamin Sesko takes that slight touch ahead, a move ahead of him, and literally heads the ball from his face across. And you're thinking to yourself, you should be doing better to challenge for that ball. You may not necessarily win it, but you must be rising up with Benjamin Sesko, because he's already taller than you. That's from the get-go. Now, in you not tracking the movement or the flight of the ball well, you do not give yourself a chance. So that's where I thought he fell short. Hi, John. Good to have you back, John. So really, he sold himself short there as Manchester United squad to make it 2-1. And then, of course, Crystal Palace, down to 10 men, where it was always going to be a huge mountain to climb. Bruno Fernandes, deservedly voted player of the match for his goal and assist. I think he now has about 13 or 14 Premier League assists this season. Should be 13. Yes, he's just right up there in a league of his own. 13 assists, because the next two players are all Man City players in Ryan Cherki and Brad Erling Haaland with 7 assists. And then you'll find a Liverpool player, Harry Wilson, Jack Wilshere, all with 6 assists. But Bruno Fernandes is in a league of his own. The same way you have literally Brad Erling Haaland with 22 Premier League goals, and Igor Thiago coming in with 18. And then Antoine Semenyo, another Man City player with 14 goals. Of course, he scored, I think, the first 9 of the season while still a Bournemouth player. So, but that is all beside the point. Anyways, so in the end, it was a beautiful Manchester United performance. I really thought they were dominant. That was after, of course, Crystal Palace going down to 10 men. They gave it a good goal. They could have scored more, but Dean Henderson was quite brilliant in goal. On the other side, they created some goal scoring opportunities, even when they were down to 10 men, but they did not take their chances. You just felt, I think one of them was Ismail Sarr and Ivan Guesa among the culprits in there. So it was going to always be a huge mountain to climb for Crystal Palace once they went down to 10 men. And that means in about what? In about 7 Premier League games, is it 7? Yeah, about 7 Premier League games. Michael Carrick is still unbeaten. He's won 6 and drawn 1. That means out of a possible 21 points, he's taken 19. Brilliant. And Manchester United, I do stand to be corrected, but are unbeaten in 2026. I was trying to look at their results in terms of since the turn of the new year. Because after the turn of the new year, okay, prior to the turn of their last defeat came against Aston Villa by 2-1, and that was December 21st. They lost to Aston Villa, Morgan Rogers scoring a brace in that one, while Matthias Cunha scored for Man United. So that's the last time, December 21st, that's the last time Man United lost a game in the Premier League. After that, they beat up against Newcastle by 0-0, for those of you that remember that Patrick Dogu goal. Then they shared the spoils with Wolverhampton Wanderers in a 1-1 draw, as did against Leeds United in a 1-1 draw, and a 2-2 draw against Burnley. So those were 3 consecutive draws. And then we're talking about the Premier League alone. Of course, there in January, they had a loss, but that was in the FA Cup. They lost to Brighton and Hove Albion, who beat them by 2-1 to knock them out at the 3rd round of the FA Cup. But then after the Burnley draw, that's when Michael Carrick comes in on the 1st of February. He comes in on the 1st of February. Sorry, not the 1st. He had come in earlier. With his first game in charge was the Manchester Derby, because I think it was after the Wolves game. That is when we have Ruben Amorim sacked. No, Ruben Amorim is sacked after the Leeds game on January 5th, because Enzo Maresca is sacked January 1st, around there. So Darren Fletcher takes United through the Burnley game and the loss to Brighton. Then Michael Carrick begins his duties with the Manchester Derby, and he beats up against Man City by 2-0, goes to the Emirates Stadium and beats up against Arsenal by 3-2, returns home and beats Fulham by 3-2, goes to Tottenham hosts Tottenham and beats them by 2-2. That was 4 consecutive wins, and then drew against West Ham United in a 1-1 draw before beating up against Everton by 0-0, and subsequently today against Crystal Palace by 2-1. Their next set of fixtures, they have. Meanwhile, there's a set of midweek games because Man United play Newcastle. That's when the Premier League, resumes. Bad days for Newcastle, because Newcastle lost over the weekend. So there are going to be games between Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Yes, for match day 29 officially. So the next game will be against Newcastle. Then over the weekend, it will be the FA Cup. So Man United will not play. So Man United in not playing, that means their next game should be coming. Is it on the 15th? Yeah, because on the weekend of 8th, we're going to have the FA Cup. Arsenal play away to, I think, Mansfield. Yeah. Man City play Newcastle. Yeah, those FA Cup games will be coming shortly. So that's why we have Premier League midweek games. So the clock never stops, and it's that time of the season anyways. Oh, wow. It's a goal. Roma have the third against Juventus, and it's Daniel Malin who has scored. Wow, what a turn of events. Luciano Spalletti could get himself sacked because he's had a poor run of results, including being knocked out of the UEFA Champions League 7-5 on aggregate, despite winning the reverse fixture. But we'll get to discuss that maybe at some point. He's looking on like in total disbelief. He looks frozen. He looks perplexed. Wow, what a brilliant take from Daniel Malin. And yet Aston Villa thought did not have enough space for him. They instead brought back Leon Bailey, who has helped them already, but wow. They opted for Tammy Abraham, who is so far scored twice for them in the Premier League, by the way. But that's a brilliant goal from Daniel Malin. Gianpiero Gasperini goes into celebration. I don't know. I wish Gianpiero Gasperini could win the Scudetto, and it would be quite the script or the story for his coaching career if he were to do it with Roma, who have not done it in ages, really, for me. Anyways, so Man United won the game by 2-1, and with that victory, they moved within, mark my words, they moved within 8 points behind Man City and level on points with Aston Villa, who have now slipped to 4th place because Man United have moved to 3rd place with a better goal difference. So, ahead of those fixtures next week, and the beautiful thing is that Man United will be playing on the same day. They'll be playing on the same day that Man City play. Only that Man City will play at least a half earlier. They'll play their first half earlier than Man United's kickoff on Wednesday. Same day Arsenal return to action with their trip away to Brighton. But we'll get to discuss that perhaps tomorrow. Really, we'll get into the full depth of that. But I thought it was a beautiful performance from Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro. I mean, the amount of balls he wins in the air is something commendable because he just makes the right runs when attacking crosses and free kicks. Really, Casemiro is really, really commendable. And again, we're talking about it with a Manchester United fan, and I saying, Man United are really, really going to miss Casemiro. They're really, really going to miss Casemiro. They'll miss him because I do not think they have a player that does what he does. Yes, you may criticize him that he's looked better ever since it was announced that he will be leaving the club, but also he's playing under a different manager. He's playing alongside Kobe Mainoo constantly. They have a good partnership. They have a good rapport. They know, and then with Bruno Fernandes in the number 10 role and everything with the composition of United is forward, it looks bright and brilliant. Anyways, we'll leave that at that. So in the other results, still from the Premier League, you had Tottenham Hotspurs lose to Fulham by 2-1. Not surprised. Harry Wilson on target and Iwobi. Guys, go and watch Iwobi's goal. Brilliant. The way he places that ball before it hits the inside of the base of the upright and into the back of the net was just sublime. It was really, really nice to watch. The way he places that ball. And funny enough, it's from distance. It's from distance, So Tottenham Hotspur's problems continue to pile on. In fact, by the end of that fixture, I was starting to read gossip online relating to the idea that Igor Tudor could be sacked just weeks into the role. I mean, this was his second game he was taking charge of Tottenham Hotspurs, and that means he's lost on the spin. But they lost. It was as simple as that. I did not get to watch the game because my mind was concentrated on the Manchester United game. But yeah, Harry Wilson and Iwobi were the goal scorers, while Eric Carson scored what turned out to be a mere consolation for Tottenham Hotspurs. And the implications of that on the Premier League table is that Tottenham Hotspurs are now, I think they are only 4 points off of the drop zone. And yeah, only 4 points away from West Ham, who are in 18th place. With 10 games left to play, and it is looking bad. They are 16th. Remember last season they finished 17th. So they are not far off from where they finished last season. Luckily for Tottenham Hotspurs, Nottingham Forest could not win away to Brighton because they equally lost by 2-1. Danny Welbeck, one of the goal scorers in that game, but it was Gomez who scored in the first. Sorry, it was Gomez who scored in the 6th minute to give Brighton the lead before Morgan Gibbs-White scored in the 13th minute to restore parity. And guys, football is a very interesting game. Especially, it becomes interesting when you're winning or whoever you're rooting for is winning, or if you're neutral, but more so when you're neutral, because you get to enjoy the game without particular attachments to it. And when it comes to some of the goals that we did witness today, in as far as this game was concerned, is that meanwhile, Olympique Marseille already have an equalizer against Olympique Lyon, so that game is 1-1. So you have Diego Gomez score in the 6th minute, and then Morgan Gibbs-White score in the 13th minute to restore parity, with Pascal Grob providing the assist for Diego Gomez's goal, while Igor Jesus provided the assist for Morgan Gibbs-White's brilliant goal, by the way. And then in the 15th minute, Jack Henschelwood provided the assist as Danny Welbeck scored to make it 2-1, and that's how the game ended, 2-1. Nottingham Forest, fighting against relegation under the charges of Vitor Pereira, are yet to win a Premier League game under his charge, 2 in charge, 2 lost, against Liverpool a 0-0, and now against Brighton by 2-1. So Brighton's next game is still going to be at home at the Amex Stadium against a familiar foe in Arsenal, a team that they have cost the Premier League title before. I think you have to go back around May 2023 for the 2022-2023 Premier League season, when Brighton, I think, went to the Emirates Stadium and beat up against Arsenal by 3-0. 3-0 or 3-1, thereabout. So, anyways, that was the other result. So, Spurs lost, Nottingham lost, West Ham lost horribly yesterday to Liverpool, 5-2. Out of all the teams that are battling relegation, Tottenham, Nottingham Forest, West Ham, it is only Wolves that won on match day 28, surprisingly. And Wolves are at the bottom of the Premier League table. And this is what I said in the aftermath of that game. But even though you feel that Wolves are playing for their reputation, mathematically, they are not yet relegated. That's what I said. So they still have 10 games to play. No, sorry, not 10 games. They have 9 games left to play. If they were to win those 9 games, that would give them 27 points. And with the 13 they have, it will take them to 40 points. And usually 40 points is enough for you to survive relegation. Unfortunately for Wolverhampton Wanderers, I'm not totally convinced or sold that they are capable of winning 9 consecutive games when their 2-0 victory against Aston Villa was only their second of the season, the first coming against West Ham United. It would be nothing other than a miracle if they were to do that and survive relegation. But miracles happen. Surprises do not discriminate. Good things still happen, or amazing things still happen in the world. So you never know. Wolves could be about to rewrite their Premier League story. So, I mean, they're only now, 6 points behind Burnley? That's been it for match day 28 of the Premier League. Like I said, action does continue. But like I said, Arsenal's victory saw them restore the 5-point cushion, but they have played a game more. Arsenal and Wolverhampton Wanderers have all played a game more than the rest of the other Premier League teams. So that's why all the other 18 teams have 10 games left to play, whilst Arsenal have only 9, So that's about it. So, but our Premier League continues midweek on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And here will be the run of fixtures that you should expect. I will get to tackle this a lot more in our subsequent live broadcasts. But on Tuesday at 10:30 p.m., Bournemouth will be at home against Brentford. That's promised to be a blockbuster following Brentford's 4-3 victory away to Burnley. Everton will be at home against Burnley. Leeds United will welcome Sunderland. Leeds looking to bounce back. Meanwhile, Daniel Fekir won't be on the touchline because he was given a red card for asking the referee a question. Funny enough, it's been a weekend of bad officiating decisions. Right, Declan Rice's penalty that was not checked. Liverpool's Virgil van Dijk's goal was given despite Joe Gomez, interfering with Mads Hermansen, released in an offside position. The Matheus Cunha's dive in the box that leads to a penalty, which I said shouldn't have been a penalty. Then that handball by Matheus Nunes in their 1-0 victory against Leeds United, which should have been reviewed for a penalty. So it's been a weekend of shambolic officiating, and then I'll need a bit of more explaining to understand how Robert Lewandowski's goal was allowed in their 4-1 victory over Villarreal over the weekend. And I unfortunately, Pedro is not here with us. Probably he would have explained to us a little better. But I'll look to make a bit of research about that. But the goal stood. I don't know what they took into consideration in that regard. So it's been that kind of a weekend, really. Anyways, so back to the run of fixtures. So then at 11:15 p.m., Liverpool will be playing away to Molineux against Wolverhampton Wanderers. That's on Tuesday. Then on Wednesday, Aston Villa at 10:30 p.m. will be up against Chelsea at Villa Park. Arsenal at 10:30 p.m. will be playing away to Brighton and Hove Albion. Fulham at the same kickoff time will be away to will be at home against West Ham in the London Derby. So it's Fulham West Ham. Man City will be at home beating Nottingham Forest. Yes, you heard that right. Man City will be at home beating Nottingham Forest. I don't know by what scoreline, but be rest assured, Nottingham Forest will be on the losing end of that one. Then Newcastle at 11:15 p.m. will be up against Manchester United. And on Thursday, Tottenham Hotspur will welcome Crystal Palace. I won't be surprised if Tottenham Hotspur lose that game. I won't be surprised, given their recent trend of results. So anyways, that was it from Super Sunday of the Premier League. Elsewhere, Elche in the Spanish La Liga shared the spoils with Espanyol in a 2-2 draw, while Valencia beat up against Osasuna by 0-0. Real Betis and Sevilla shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw, while Girona against Celta Vigo, that game is still on in the 62nd minute. It's 1-1. In German, VfB Stuttgart beat Wolfsburg by 4-0. Eintracht Frankfurt beat Freiburg by 2-0, while RB Leipzig beat Hamburg SV by 2-1. In the Italian Serie A, AC Milan put 2 past Cremonese. Atlanta lost to Sassuolo, who beat them by 2-1, while Torino put 2 past Lazio. And as we speak, Juventus have scored to make it 3-2. So AC Roma are leading that game by 3-2 in the 79th minute of that game. And then in the French League 1, Paris FC beat Nice by 0-0. Lille beat Nantes by 1-0, while Lorient and Auxerre shared the spoils in a 2-2 draw, while Brest beat up against Metz by 0-0, and Olympique Lyon and Olympique Marseille is 1 apiece as we speak. So those are the different games that are being played, and those are the different results that are happening as we speak. But yeah, Juventus 3-2 behind against AC Roma. Otherwise, allow me wrap it up here. Wish you before we wrap it up. Yes, tomorrow there is action. Monday Night Football. Let's not forget, even though we'll be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. to review the action. So tomorrow, Real Madrid are going to be up against Getafe in the Spanish La Liga at 11 p.m. Perhaps we'll be following the updates from that game in tomorrow's Monday night broadcast. Then in the Italian Serie A, Pisa will be up against Bologna at 8:30 p.m., while Udinese will take on Fiorentina at 10:45 p.m. There. So do not miss out on that action as well. On that note, therefore, allow me to say thank you to Daniel Tuton, just for the laugh. Bajenda with his very unkind comment. That's why I suspended him. John Opiero and every single Inside Music. Thank you so much. Who else? and every single one of you that has been part of the broadcast. Those that liked, those that did not like, but kept there in the background, in the shadows, listening in, dedicating us your time to listen to what we have to say. Perhaps next time better you'll give us the desired interaction. But thank you so much for choosing to be part of the Football Tribe UG channel. Like I said, for those of you that have recently subscribed to the channel, hope you get to enjoy your stay with us. I hope you get to love what we do, interact with our content in the short section, in the video section, in the live section. Those who watch our live broadcasts long after they've ended, we do not take your time for granted. We do appreciate you a great deal. Stay blessed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Bye-bye for now.